Hi there and welcome to Pomfort. My name is Vanja Nolte and I'm Product Manager for Pomfort Software Applications. In this video, I'll walk you step by step through our on-set video playback system, Realtime Pro. If you're new to the application or just starting to explore it, this video is for you. Together, we look into its main concept, the slot system, and how it helps you to serve all the different monitoring requirements while handling your multiple tasks efficiently. Once you understand the slot system, Realtime Pro becomes an easy-to-learn application. We won't cover every single detail, but you'll be familiar with all essential features by the end of the video. Our demo setup featuring 2 ARRI cameras along with many real-world examples and tips will make everything easy to follow. Let's jump right in. Before we dive into Realtime Pro's slot concept and features, let's briefly talk about hardware setups. Depending on your production requirements, your setup might look quite different from one project to the next. And here's your first takeaway. Realtime Pro offers a huge range of device integrations to customize your setup. It supports various video I/O devices from AJA, Blackmagic and Deltacast. You can use multiple devices of the same type simultaneously and even combine devices from different manufacturers. We covered all this in a blog article including several examples and an 8-step checklist to design your setup. Also, check the Pomfort knowledge base for a comprehensive overview of all device integrations. You'll find both links in the description below. For this walkthrough, we're simulating a basic real-world setup with 2 cameras. There's an Alexa 35 as A camera and an Alexa Mini as B camera. Also, there's a microphone for recording the sound together with our video recordings. The ungraded SDI signals go to our playback station. The 2 live signals go into a video router. In our setup, we use the Blackmagic Video Hub 10x10 12G. We capture the signals with a video I/O device. We use the AJA IO-X3, which can capture 2 camera signals and at the same time provide 2 SDI outputs. The output signals go to 2 SDI monitors. In our example, we use 2 Flenders DM240. One of them represents the director's monitor, and the other one is the SDI monitor for the script supervisor. We receive the audio through a Focusrite Scarlett audio interface. We have set up 2 local streams, one for camera A and one for camera B. We receive the local streams on an iPad via the free Realtime Viewer companion app. Finally, we have a Stream Deck XL that allows us to fully control the application without a mouse or keyboard. It helps to gain speed with repeated actions through a dedicated plugin. Almost everything you can do with multiple clicks in the software or with menu items and keyboard shortcuts can be mapped to the LCD keys of the Stream Deck XL. You can even trigger multiple real-time actions with a single key, making you a lot faster. You just install the dedicated Realtime Pro plugin via a menu item. For most Stream Deck devices, there are also pre-configured profiles, so you can start right away, or you create your own custom profile. All the devices are attached to a 16-inch MacBook Pro with an M2 processor. The application runs on Apple Silicon only and really leverages the power of these processors. When we started developing the software, we quickly learned that we would need to build a highly performant video pipeline to fulfill all requirements of modern multicam productions. It quickly turned out that the new technologies of these modern Apple Silicon Macs played into our hand in this respect. So the timing for Realtime Pro could not have been better. Let's move on to a tour of the main user interface. This main user interface is what we call the main view. If you are already a user of Pomfort products, some of the UI elements will look familiar. The application has different window layouts, the main view layout and a subset of multi-view layouts. The latter ones are dedicated to focus on a specific task by eliminating all irrelevant options from the main view for a moment. We will cover this functionality later on in this video. Let's stick to the main view for now. On the left-hand side, you see the Slots column, where you can see all currently configured slots. Slots allow you to view and control your incoming signals, apply filters and composites, and route your processed live and playback signals to various destinations. I will tell you more about the slot system in a minute. The selected slot signal is shown in the viewer window. Depending on whether we see a live or playback signal, there are recording or playback controls in this bar below the viewer. On the upper right-hand side, you have a tab for entering global metadata such as slate info and a tab for configuring the currently selected slot's settings. Here in the config panel, you can also add filters to your slot's live or playback signal. The library allows you to reveal all the clips you recorded during your project quickly. You can view your clips in a table view with metadata columns or switch to a collection view for a visual search with skimming. Features such as smart groups help you to quickly find relevant clips by outlining the library based on metadata such as slate info. In this detail view, you can inspect and edit the metadata of the selected clip or multiple selected clips. We will come back to the clip library later. Last thing to point out, at the very top you have a customizable toolbar with buttons for the most important actions. For example, you can open the slot manager to add and remove slots and configure devices. The first step to fully get the scope of how Realtime Pro works and how it makes your life easier is to get a better understanding of its main concept, the slot system. You might have noticed that we came across the word slots quite a few times already. You may ask yourself, what are slots and how do I work with them? The simple answer is, a slot is a container that can hold a live signal, a playback signal, or sometimes both. You work with slots by connecting those containers, which allows you to control the routing of your incoming and outgoing signals. Realtime Pro offers 4 different types of slots: input slots, library slots, composite slots, and output slots. With that being said, imagine Realtime Pro as a workshop brimming with specialized workbenches, each outfitted with the specific tools required for a certain aspect. Staying with this image, consider each slot type as one of those dedicated workbenches to provide purposeful video playback as the final result. Let's go take a closer look at the different slot types, aka workbenches, starting with the input slots. An incoming camera signal is associated with an input slot, so that an input slot basically represents a camera. In our demo setup, the Alexa 35 is our A cam and the Alexa Mini is our B cam. Input slots serve as your primary workbench because you can use them for recording and playback. Hence, input slots have 3 different slot modes. The first mode is the live mode. We are currently in the live slot mode and see the live signals from our cameras. Consequently, we have recording controls here in this bar below the viewer. The second mode is the playback mode. When we switch to the playback slot mode, you can now see a group recording I recorded beforehand and the playback controls. The third mode is the reference mode, where you can compare your live signal with your currently loaded clip. You can do a side-by-side view, horizontal or vertical swipe, or mix and overlay, which is very handy for matching an actor's framing or position. For example, if you need to start at the same position as in the previous take. All these reference options are also available in the composite slots. Composite slots serve as a kind of assembly zone, where you can create composites holding 2 or more live or playback signals without any additional hardware. In the reference mode of the input slots, you can only compare what is in this slot. In the composite slots, you can combine any signal from any configured slots with even more layout options. Besides the layouts you saw in the reference mode, you also have a 3x1 side-by-side and a 2x2 grid mode, where you could, for example, load 2 playbacks in library slots and compare them with your live camera signals. In the overlay layout mode of the composite slots, you can also create a compositing of a green screen keyed image signal and a background plate. Let's take a look at another station in our workshop, the library slots. You can think of the library slots as your personal workbench, where you prepare requested actions or references for review before anyone else sees them. Library slots are directly linked to the clip library, where each library slot has its own selection in the library outline. So you can fill any library slot with any item you select in the clip library. We will get back to the clip library and the library slots later. And last but not least, there are the output slots, which serve as showrooms for exhibiting the final products to your clients. Each output slot is associated with a monitoring device, which can be any of the following: a monitor connected via the output port of a video I/O device, an iPhone or iPad connected via the Realtime Viewer companion app, an Apple Vision Pro connected via the Realtime Cinema companion app, or you can also provide an internet stream choosing from a wide range of internet streaming services. In our demo here, we have a Director's SDI monitor and a Script SDI monitor, and 2 local streams for camera A and B. As you can see, the slot system allows a very flexible routing of your incoming and outgoing signals. You can even choose on which monitoring device your viewers can receive the view you created for them. But wouldn't it be nice to also decide how the signal appears? Good news! Realtime Pro has another tool that allows you to do that: the filters. Okay, let's take out our precision tools. With individual filters for each slot, you can tailor your view's appearance to match the requirements of the viewer's role or a specific use case. So depending on what makes sense for the viewers, you can add filters to an input slot or an output slot. For example, you may want to add a LUT that should be visible on all outputs. Then it makes sense to add it to an input slot. Other filters, such as metadata overlays, may only be relevant for a specific role. Let's create an example. Let's say the script supervisor wants to see metadata overlays, but the director wants to view a clean image. First, we configure the ACAM also to the second monitor. Then, we add a crop filter to the output slot director, and we apply a metadata overlay filter to the output slot script. Now the director can see the cropped clean image, while the script supervisor can see the same camera uncropped and with metadata overlays. Maybe the script supervisor wants to see both camera angles in the same way. No problem. Just change the source to our composite slot. As the filter is applied to the output slot, the metadata overlay is also visible on the composite. So having this flexibility is very powerful, as you can tailor the views exactly how the viewers want it. Overall, the slot system gives you very flexible control of who sees what, on which device and how, while also maintaining a transparent overview of all signals. It's time to get some real work done and create our first recording. There are several ways to create recordings. You can start a group recording of all input slots, for example with this Record All button in the toolbar. But you can also create a single recording for individual slots by using the record buttons in the slot cards. In our example, we will create a TC Sync group recording of all cameras. This Sync Info label indicates that cameras A and B are currently synced to a group. So when we start recording, we will create a group recording of both cameras. The timecode is used as a syncing method. Our cameras here are jam synced, so we can use the SMPTE timecode embedded in our SDI signals. Alternatively, if your cameras are not synced, you can also use the current time as timecode. Have you ever missed a recording? You'll probably be happy to hear that there's an auto-record option. For this video, we prepared a demo setup that allows us to auto-record all cameras. You can set up the auto-record mechanism to trigger all slots at once or follow the individual record flag of the cameras. In both cases, you will get a TC Sync group recording. We will use the method that triggers all slots at once. So if we would now hit the record button on the Alexa 35, both slots would automatically start recording. In the same way, we trigger stopping the recording. By the way, if only the A camera will be rolling for the next shot, you can quickly unarm the B camera and the next group recording will record only the A camera. Okay, before we start recording, we should make sure our global metadata is up to date. No worries, we can even adjust it during recording, when we see the slate in frame. Let's give it a try. We hit the record button on the camera, and we can see that it works. Both slots are recording. The director gives the cue action. We hit I on the keyboard to set an in point, and we follow the action. Then the director says cut. We hit O to set an out point. In this case, the director gives the instruction keep rolling, we just do it again, and codes out action once more. No problem, we can set a second in point, and we follow the action again. And the director says cut a second time. And we set another out point. Now we hit the record button on the camera again, and recording stops for both slots automatically. Our new recordings ended up in the library and they were automatically loaded for playback. Each recording is loaded into its source input slot. The A camera recording into slot A and the B camera recording into slot B. So we just need to press the spacebar to play back our group recording. Of course, you can also use the JKL commands on your keyboard. Obviously, it makes sense to play back only the marked ranges. You can navigate to the next range or previous range and start playback from there. Or, more elegantly, you can enable the ranges playback mode. Press one time to playback the nearest range, or press again to playback all the ranges in your clip. That's perfect if the director wants to review all actions within a take. You can even combine the ranges playback options with looping. So for example, now we loop through all the marked ranges in the clip until the next recording happens. By the way, as soon as you hit the record button or recording is triggered via auto record, the input slots switch back to live slot mode. although your last playback may still loop in the background. So you can record and playback simultaneously if needed. As you can see, Realtime Pro has really got you covered for all those typical incidents in the heat of movie production. So far, we only worked within the main view window layout. Time to check out the multi-view layouts. One of your responsibility as a playback operator is monitoring all camera feeds, ensuring all signals are okay, having an additional pair of eyes continuity-wise, etc. The multi-view is primarily designed for operators with no SDI monitor who need to operate on a small screen such as a MacBook Pro 16-inch. It helps you to focus on a current task by eliminating all irrelevant options in the UI for a moment. There are 3 different multi-view layouts based on the slot types: input slots, library slots, and output slots. In the input slots multi-view, you see all of your currently configured incoming camera feeds. This window layout could become your best friend when working on a small screen. You can do recording and playback, while the global metadata for your upcoming recording are always at your fingertips. And of course, the toolbar most important global actions are also available. Sometimes you may want to double-check what signal is shown on the monitors on set. No problem. Just open the output slot multi-view and you will see all your outgoing signals, including filters, at a glance. In some cases, you may have prepared some references from your clip library in multiple library slots to show them to the director or script continuity. Then you can quickly open the library slots multi-view and focus completely on playing back the references you prepared. Stream Deck actions for toggling the window layouts make it super easy to jump back and forth between the multi-views and the main view, so that switching is pretty fast if you need to do it frequently. As you can see, the multi-view layouts allow you to focus on your most important daily tasks by just showing what you really need to see in this specific situation and to work conveniently on a small screen. All clips you record are accessible in the clip library. By double-clicking a clip, you can load the associated group recording into its source input slots. The A camera recording is loaded into slot A and the B camera recording into slot B. You can also load any clip into the selected input slot. Browsing your library in Smart Groups is a great way to make use of all the metadata you filled in. The Smart Groups outline your library in the hierarchy of your choice. For example, in this default Smart Group layout, Scene Shot Take, you can quickly find a requested take if you know the slate info. Thus, the script supervisor needs to review Scene 26, Shot 4, Take 7? No problem. You can provide it in a library slot in no time. However, in some cases, for example, the director does not know the slate info and asks, "Hey, can you show me the clips in Munich at nighttime?" No problem. Change the Smart Groups layout to show an outline based on day-night and location. And you can easily find the requested clips and bring them up in a library slot in just a few clicks. As we learned before, the library slots serve as your private workbench. Remember that the output slots are usually configured to show the signal of one of the input slots, so you can take your time browsing in the library without disturbing anyone else. The selected clip is loaded into the library slot automatically. You can use this technique to find the clip you are looking for. Then, if you find the right clip and are ready to show it to the director, here's another neat way to do that with just one click. Just press this pin button within the director's output slot. Now, this output slot is set to follow your selection and you can play back the clip in your selected library slot and, afterward, maybe switch to a second library slot and show another clip. If you're done presenting the clips you prepared, press the Pin button again and the director's output slot is switched back to its original routing. Similarly, you can use this second button in the output slot. If it's enabled, the output slot is forced to the live signal of its source slot. For example, if the script supervisor still wants to review a playback from a previous shot, but at the same time the director is somewhere on set rehearsing with actors, this option is essential. With the button enabled, the director now sees the live image from slot A, while the script supervisor is still watching the playback from the same slot. The output slot options set to follow selection and force to live are also available as global actions for all output slots in the toolbar. So for example, if you have a clip prepared for the lunch break in a library slot, just put it on loop and set all output slots to follow your selection with one click. Now your prepared clip plays back on all monitors on set during the break. One more thing in the library. Sometimes you may want to search visually instead of using a metadata-based search. In addition to the table view, there is a collection view with a large thumbnail representing each clip. You can use this skimming mechanism to find a specific action within a clip. For example, if the director wants to see only this last action in the clip. Take your time to skim to the intended position. Only you can see the skimming so far. Then, if you find the correct position, just double-click and the group recording is loaded for playback at that exact frame of your skimhead's position, and you can start playback from there for everyone on set. We now went through all the main functionalities of your daily recording and playing back business. Let's use the rest of the time to explore two more topics: video router control and green screen compositing. Realtime Pro integrates with video routers from AJA and Blackmagic. You can open this video routing panel and connect to any router within your network. You can control your routing interactively by dragging the lines from input to output or vice versa. Also, you can save video routing configurations. For this demo, I prepared two video routing configurations. The first one routes the output port associated with the director's output slot to the director's monitor. The second configuration routes the direct live feed from the camera A to the director's monitor. By the way, we have a pretty good latency for showing a processed live signal on an SDI monitor. With this setup, we measured between 2 and 3 frames only. However, the director might want to see the live signal with absolutely no latency to keep the live dialogue of the actors on stage in sync with the image. So our first configuration would not be an option, even with a remarkably small amount of 2 or 3 frames latency. But the second configuration with a direct live feed is just perfect. You could use buttons on your Stream Deck to switch between the two configurations. But there's a more convenient way to do it. Let's open the Automations Manager. The automations allow you to perform actions automatically based on specific events. For example, if the director's output slot receives a live signal from camera A, trigger the video routing configuration where the signal goes directly from the camera to the director's monitor, for no latency priority. Then, if the director output slot receives a playback, we obviously need to switch back to the other video routing configuration. Let's try if that works. Okay, good. When I switch back and forth between playback and live, the routing is changed in the background automatically. As you can see, the automations can help you remove redundant manual work once set up correctly. One last tip: You can drag the automations button into your toolbar up here to turn the automations on or off. For example, if the director should temporarily see the filtered live image or a composite of live signals. Have you been regularly asked to create a quick compositing preview when shooting scenes in front of a green screen? Realtime Pro allows you to apply a real-time green screen key filter to any live or playback signal and composite the isolated image as a foreground with a background plate. Let's have a look how that works. The first step is to apply a green screen key filter. First, we add the green screen key filter to the input slot with a green screen live image. Then, we choose the color picker and pick a green color. Let's switch to the matte viewing mode to refine our key with the controls. Now we switch back to preview to inspect our final key. Next, we can blend our isolated foreground with a background plate in a composite slot. I imported some background plates beforehand. Let's just load this plate into a library slot and put it on loop. Next, we create a composite slot and select the Overlay tab. We set the input slot as the foreground and the library slot as the background. Now we need to expand this panel and set 100% opacity. Okay, now that's our compositing preview. Not too bad, but we can make it better. Let's add a crop filter to change the scaling and position of the background. And now we can add a blur filter to separate the background more naturally. Finally, we can fine-tune the compositing also with a color adjust filter to match the colors of our two layers. Let's do a recording while the background plate keeps looping. In playback mode, you can switch between the individual sources of the composite slot by clicking on the slot label. This way, you can easily sync the playhead positions and playback modes of the two layers. For example, we have set this range here in the foreground and enable ranges playback. Now we can create a matching in and out range in the background. And enable ranges playback too. Okay, now let's switch back to our global controls, jump to the endpoints, enable loop for all, and start the synced playback from here. That was a quick overview of creating a green screen compositing. You can find more in-depth instructions in the POM4 knowledge base. I hope you gained a lot of insights and feel ready to navigate Realtime Pro on your own. To get started, head to the POM4 website for a free trial and check out our Quick Start guide, which will help you to set up a basic test using 1 or 2 webcams. For more information, visit our knowledge base or feel free to reach out to our support team with any questions or feedback. You'll find the relevant links in the description below. Thanks for joining us and see you soon.